Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's Reporters for the 8th of January. And, well, didn't take long for the, weakness to exacerbate itself. Even though we had the dip of orange in that below and generally improving readings, at least from an MBI reading and that short failure, you still have to have buyers step into the situation. Now, of course, with the shakeout still exceedingly ugly, it's just starting to turn around now, actually, where you may get a crossover here of the yellow above red in this particular case. That's the beginning of turnaround. And all we got was just mostly selling through it. And some of this is going to be that cyclical news event, of course, as I pointed out, with Trump situation. I mean, he's wanting to buy Greenland, add Canada, take over the Panama Canal, and this is the market reacting to all the hype. And once they realized that he was still serious about tariffs, that reversed everything that took place from the fake news article. And this is what you're going to get a lot of, I think, going forward. And that's why I was saying that it's not always as rosy as it looked. Now, then throw in the fact that valuations for business and everything are through the roof. They can only stay that way if inflation continues to be the predominant force. And that becomes a question mark because things are really priced for ongoing inflation rate. And should any of that change, well, you're going to have a problem. Now it hasn't changed in particular. It's just a move back to the 50%. Should still hold within that range. Nothing suggests that it's going to be problematic, except for the shakeout. It says that you really don't have a whole lot of push behind anything that's taking place at this particular stage. Treasury is now starting to become more attractive for people as an investment alternative to being in the market, and it could be interesting to see what the Fed's going to do with that. It's problematic because this is ugly. With oil continuing its rise higher and higher, you've got a lot of problems from the inflationary front still to be managed, and you're going to try and cut into that environment. They already did that once. Didn't help Biden get elected, or Kamala Harris, in her case, reelected. So there's just a lot of confluences of forces that are really going to impact things. The euro, of course, yeah. What are you going to do with it? The reality is they've got nowhere to go with their situation. It just looks bleaker by the day. And the fact that some people talk about the dollar being way overvalued at this particular stage, relative to what? Maybe to crypto or something like that. But at the end of the day, not so much. The fact that gold's still being held in a pretty predominantly weak situation relative to what you see with this building, it's going to catch up. It has to. It's just a matter of waiting for the proper reading. Strong MBI white, but magenta still leads, so I wouldn't expect that to fade too much within there. As long as magenta is able to stay above the yellow, it's going to maintain that. And you'll notice that even in the weakness, you still have positive shakeout readings. So those factors indicate that you're going to get some back and forth, but it's not going to be catastrophic. Now, from a Bitcoin standpoint, you can see that's pretty negative read there with the giant MBI white spike and magenta actually below now. You'd already had the DOC spread with the cyan above, but it could reverse here pretty quick. That's just going to be part of the normal play. And of course, whenever you get selling in the market, you get these trade-offs where you've got to fund covering those losses or buying more into the dip during it, and that's usually where you pull your money out of your parking lot, which would be crypto, gold, or even currency, and you apply it back into the market as needed, unless you're really looking from the liquidation standpoint. But from the 50K standpoint, really wasn't a whole lot of question about this. Been a sell from a couple days ago, and really hasn't changed much since then. We've had just some brief pauses here where magenta was actually able to get over and kind of sustain things, but then just completely collapsed underneath that and did exactly what it should: move price to the zero Fibonacci lines. In this case, you had rising zero, so it just made it a little bit higher level, but still produced the exact same outcome. And this is part of that reading of when you don't get the reset of steel coming back underneath. Cyan in particular, you had a brief moment of it right there, but it immediately pushed back. And so you've overused your short-term buyers, and they're really not giving you any help at this particular stage. They don't have enough momentum to overcome where shorts are. That's where we see the relationship with the white MBI having a strong influence over it. So even when you see these magenta pops, you can see you get the little move, but is it sustainable becomes the question. And pretty much keeping that cyan above the zero line, pretty hard to get the effect of forcing short cover in this particular situation. And you see intraday, as soon as we started with the open, it was just a counter to call buying. And then everyone starts to move back to puts, and that's usually when you start to get a little bit of a turnaround comeback, which is sort of what we're seeing, just a tiny brief bit of here in the European session. But overall, the buying of the hype and rhetoric that they're going to keep following as it relates to Trump is going to cause lots of volatility. And this is something we expected coming up, so 10 days left to go before, well, actually more than that, 12 days before you finally get the alteration, of course, on was it Friday? Trump gets sentenced, a little mock show trial thing. And the upheaval is going to be epic. So looking forward to the ride. I think it's going to be fun. It's not going to be hard to see, but it certainly is going to create a lot of opportunities. And a lot of them are going to be shifting rather rapidly. It's not going to be one of those situations where buy and hold is definitely not going to be the best course, at least in the near term, until things flush out a little bit and people begin to see the actual policy effects of things. But it's going to take a while. So this idea that things are going to turn around, I know there's a lot of optimism and everything, but really way ahead of where the reality is. And so got to deal with what is at this particular stage and go from there. But anything relevant, we'll put it on the Skype chat. As always, trade well. Have a good one.